Would you believe it? It's a team kill in round one. CNZ versus dramiS. They're about to go head-to-head here for round one of winners. My name is Ketchup. I'd like to welcome everyone back to IronFist, presented by Maestro and sponsored by Logitech G. I think that both of these players have a really interesting story going into this matchup. Myself in particular, I've been keeping a keen eye on dramiS and his progress. For those that don't know, recovered recently from a bit of a hand injury that kept him out of action through that later stage of the recent Pro League. But when he came back out, I think it reinvigorated him. He was more hungry than ever and has given us his best performances in Quake. The question is, will that continue today? CNZ always been a bit of a silent killer, I think, in competitive Quake. He's been Pro League status for so long, but doesn't have the most consistent results. I think a lot of that can be attested to just the sheer level of talent that exists in the world right now, but guess what? That's what this kind of event is all about. We're live once more from the Red Bull Sphere here in London, where the weather may be miserable, but spirits certainly aren't. On that note, I want to throw over to our talented casters. Lads, run us through the action.
Thank you very much, Ketchup. Yeah, we've got another banger for us. It is going to be dramiS versus CNZ. And dramiS has been very impressive. Remember back in QuakeCon, he had an incredible placement there. And even with CNZ, he can be very hit and miss, but definitely someone not to be underestimated at all in the slightest.
No, and he's someone that also had an amazing run. I think it was QuakeCon before.
Yeah.
Got really far, I think fifth or so. And ever since then, hasn't achieved the same heights. I think we all looked at him and thought that this is a real player right here. And yes, he's amazingly skilled, but again, plateaued around that kind of 8th to 12th, which is still more than admirable. Always feel like he's got it in him to take it a step further. But then you look at dramiS and you say, well, this is someone that's got to take it really far if it all clicks. Amazing mechanical skill, complete flair player. So it's somebody that almost has the opposite of CNZ, that just needs to rein it in and find a more refined package, where I feel that CNZ sometimes needs to break out of his mold a bit more and surprise us. So contrasting styles, similar status in the scene, going head-to-head in this space is going to be really exciting.
This is where I'm going to be interested with the picks and bans as well, because we know what dramiS likes. Something likes, a bit of Slash and Molten Falls, but doesn't even want to go that far because we know that's kind of CNZ's home turf. And it looks like, it seems to be that he's actually banned Molten Falls, which is completely thrown me off already. And we've seen a lot of Vale here, Dan, but you know what? Let's have a little bit more.
He has indeed, but he's also probably afraid of dramiS. We've seen some amazing performances in dramiS on that map as well, so let's be better safe than sorry. Going with Vale to start with, Galena versus the Keel. Again, we've seen the Keel come out in the past against the Sorlag. The problem is there, the Sorlag had the speed. The Galena doesn't have the speed. So Keel, in my mind, in this sense, becomes amplified in how effective he is. And so this is going to be a battle for positioning. Ruins, we have Strog versus the BJ. BJ's quite unusual on Ruins again because you lack the maneuverability. There's other champions you could use. So if dramiS can set the pace there, could be in for a hard time with CNZ, but we know how tactful he is to prevent that. And lastly, we move on to Deep Embrace, and I really do hope we finally get onto a third map because 2 versus Athena, that can be really exciting.
And we've seen, a few of the players, like we've seen Wenger use the Athena on Deep Embrace, and he looked incredible. The velocity he had across the board and the aerodynamics he was using and all the angles he was getting, it was just a real treat to watch. Nothing short of spectacular. And you're right, we are overdue for a map 3 now. We're going to get it at some stage. This could be one of the matches where we could at least witness it. But it's like I said, both of these players are very, very strong. We need to see if we're going to witness more of the consistency coming up from dramiS from QuakeCon.
This is the first one of the day. I can't really call. I'm going to side with dramiS, actually.
Oh, okay.
I like what I've been seeing in practice, at least, but it is genuinely the one I probably don't know. It could go either way. Someone's going to turn up and just 2-0 and easy it, but I'm actually hoping we get to a map 3. I like all 3 of these maps. There's some good, more varied picks on the board here, and as we said at the start, more contrasting play styles. And so up until now, I think every set we've had a clear winner in our minds, but now we're at that stage where this is one of the 2 series where we don't know who's going to win it.
CNZ must be hurting a little bit, having to ban one of his best matches. He's probably definitely kicked him in the teeth a little bit because he must have thought, well, we know how much, he knows how good dramiS is on Molten Falls, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he wanted to risk it, did it? Which is definitely a valid point you made before where, he definitely could have done, but I don't think the style from dramiS suits how he wants to play Molten Falls. I think that was one of the key issues, but of course there is plenty more.
I think this, and you raise a good point when you say that, because there is a strength and a weakness in CNZ in that I feel he is adaptive and malleable. Like if I think of CNZ, no real clear play style, champion or map comes to mind. And that's great. It means he's good across the board. But it also means I don't feel he has a strong specialism that he can buy into. And that's, and as I said, that's good and bad because he is reactive. He's difficult to play because he managed to work his way around his opponent. But at the same time, you need something iconic that you can really build on that make yours. And so that's where he struggles sometimes, just in my mind anyway.
And, like Ketchup said before, it is going to be a team kill here. So, only one of them, at least they're guaranteed one of their players are going to go into winner's side of round 2. We know the manager defense there as well to give them all the support there and all the love there just to make sure to keep their players fresh and ready for every single matchup over the next 3 days. And we're going to see who's actually going to come out on top. I think, in terms of prediction, we probably would say it could favour dramiS. And it wouldn't surprise me if it does go to a map 3. It just depends on what kind of clear indicator we can get going into this first map. And of course, it is going to be Vale. We've seen Vale first, like pretty much the majority of the days so far. And it looks like it is going to continue. We've had, twice the Eisen versus Galena, and we had the Solar versus the Kill. But it's like you said, the Kill is in a much better spot now. He's against the Galena.
It still struggles from the same deficiencies of being a big, slow champion, but as we said, they are overcome somewhat. He will need to deal with the totems, but it's going to be a battle for this high ground. That's going to be key, as well as the rail from dramiS. Already seeing both of them come out as soon as he gets bounced around by the grenades. dramiS falling off the ledge, unintended one would say, giving CNZ an early start, and picks up a nice round of rotation with that Mega.
It's already fully recovered, and then there's some as well, as CNZ now realises where dramiS is. They're both trade rails, but don't literally hit each other. Is it going to go back around onto the rail? Jump pad, drops down onto the hourglasses, but does do some initial damage onto CNZ, and tries to hit him again whilst he was going for that heavy. He knew he wasn't in position to really go for it, even after that first rail. Good LG there from CNZ to keep him at bay. Going to be a little bit of trouble, but does pick up the Mega. But the good thing is from dramiS, yes, sure, he's not getting the items, but he's putting the pressure on.
Exactly, that's what he needs to do. We spoke about it before in the last set. Even if you're in the back foot, you just have to find a way to be a nuisance. You have to find a way to do that damage, because if you let your opponent hit that max stat critical mass, they can then have almost a free license to run at you.
Stopwatch.
CNZ getting the upper hand so far. It's been a slow-paced affair, and that's obviously going to be the case when we've got these kind of champions at play that want to build momentum. dramiS though sneaks his way on, the grenade as well, clips CNZ with 1 HP. dramiS weighing himself around, that's nice and tricky.
You just hate to see it, don't you? I think he was preparing to put that totem down whilst he had the overstack, but dramiS took down the totem at the same time, so he only got literally a gain of 9 HP, which is of course not what he wanted. It could have been a slightly different story if he was able to get the overstack straight afterwards, but you could tell already he was a little bit uncomfortable as he put it down straight afterwards. And of course, dramiS will be keeping an eye on those hourglasses, which CNZ is definitely going to be prioritising throughout this matchup, which does mean that he will be hovering around that rail room. This is the first rail. It was desperately needed considering the stack advantage of dramiS so far. Waiting for him to go over towards the heavy, but you can see dramiS not taking that bait, but he goes for it anyway, and he does take it and takes the rail. In the meantime, gets dropped down, but literally the aggression from dramiS, just trying to make something work here, and CNZ not hitting these rails. They're absolutely vital for him to keep himself alive.
Exactly, he's not taking damage either. However, this is the problem, if you're not hitting those rails, is that the big tanky keel can run into you. And this is where the efficiency from dramiS' side of not overextending comes into play. If he can get that max stack, if he could use that stack before the next pickup, that's what you want to do. Obviously, getting the items is great, but you also want to be using it if you've got a full rotation to maximize your efficiency.
It certainly does, as CNZ was in position to go for the Mega, but he's dropping out to see if he can get something before he picks it up. He doesn't, but does know exactly where dramiS is. He's so weak. It's just a matter of time, really. If he can catch him, this is the perfect spot for CNZ. He's now managed to grab that. dramiS, though, still with that 2 frag deficit. Directly above him, does drop down. Perfectly understandable. Does have a ton in his back pocket. He's going to be flying high. Misses the rail, though. Does hit it. CNZ doesn't have the lead, but almost did with the totem, but the tri-bolt comes out here. Beautiful stuff here from dramiS to get himself back in this matchup.
Yeah, dramiS not looking too happy with himself, but now got himself onto the Mega and the lights. Plenty of time before this next pickup as well. So will work himself around, wants to cut off the angles from CNZ. You can see him playing a little bit slow, trying to work out where his opponent might come from. Since he's up top, drawing him down with that LG, nice efficient damage coming out, and the rail as well to boot. dramiS might now forfeit the Mega, or at least try and do some damage from below.
And dramiS hasn't really got much LG ammo, and he realises that, so he's been a little bit cautious about the fights he takes. Doesn't want to engage too far away, especially in LG range. Still doesn't pick it up, decides to at least just go straight in, but he's been caught off guard, caught with his trousers down here. Dan is now CNZ looking to drop down, and he does take him down with that rail. 2 frag deficit now, still a very close affair.
Is indeed, but one of the factors here that's been interesting to me is that dramiS doesn't look entirely comfortable on the kill. We've seen some movement errors coming out. It's not the best use of a heavy champion. Traditionally, we favour dramiS, as you said, with light mobility champions, but he has picked the kill, but he's not making the best use of it so far.
He certainly isn't. Still got 5 minutes left to try and change that, though. CNZ is going to get that heavy for free. It's dramiS now. Still got a bit of time left to wait until that Mega pops up in the next 10 seconds, as CNZ has now got time to at least pick up the light and then now make the move towards the Mega. Realises that he isn't up there yet, but he is now. Get some good damage with the LG. Nice rail as well to boot, just to add a little bit more damage to the tally again. Good LG again from CNZ. Oh, and what a rail just to clean that up, making matters worse for dramiS now with that 4 frag deficit.
CNZ's aim has been on point as well. They've been trading a lot, but CNZ's got the upper hand a lot of the times. I also really like the use of the LG, just to spam a bit, particularly when the angles are hard. Again, just constantly chipping away at dramiS. And we've never seen dramiS at a point where he's just got that max stack where he can run at CNZ. Positioning from CNZ's been better. Control of the high ground's been better. So that's why we see it's a 6-2.
And decides not to burn the light, but instead just keep it for himself. But it's not even really a greedy play. I think it's the perfect play in all fairness, because it's not like dramiS can try and challenge that and he can pick up as he sees fit. Misses the initial rail to finish up with this engagement, and dramiS managed to dodge and weave out himself of a bad situation, and CNZ now just trying to bait him to make him think that he's dropped down to LG to go towards him and to flank all the way around, but instead he's in a bad spot now, but at least dramiS hits that rail. That's so important, but the problem is CNZ gets one of his own.
Your point about the light is so crucial. I think some players sometimes get into a rhythm and just take it for the sake of it, whereas they forget, you know, where's the position of my opponent, what's the next few steps that they can make, are they able to challenge it? Because if you can fall back on it, it's just more for you later down the line, and that's what CNZ is doing. He's optimizing his play. And that's why efficiency is key with CNZ.
And his rails are getting a little bit better, run out of rocket sight, and he's actually running out of LG ammo as well, so needs to refill back out when he gets the chance. Realises that he had to only use the rail, but he's taking way too much damage here, and it's a shame. Could have been different if he had the rocket ammo he required, but just not going to happen here. dramiS just finds another frag, but still needs to try and look for 4 more in the next 2.5 minutes. But with CNZ picking up the heavy and he has the LG, it could be closing time here for dramiS. Actually pushes straight in, and the brothers come out, and good stuff from dramiS.
And this is the first time all map where CNZ made a mistake, worked himself out of position for the Mega, gave that away, and dramiS is making it pay. CNZ knows he's got frags to work with though, and that's why he's gone so aggressive onto this Mega. Critical item. If he let that go for free, that gave dramiS a lifeline. And now, chances of winning are slim at best.
They certainly are, as CNZ has only had one opportunity to have the overstack, and that was very, very early on in the game. And it did cost him a frag, as dramiS actually took down the totem as he planted it down in that exact bout. As rockets are coming through for CNZ, just trying to show some map presence for now, not trying to look for damage as of yet, but he realises that he's in a bit of a pickle here, Dan. He knows that in terms of stack, he's at a bit of a disadvantage, so just trying to keep his distance. But as I was saying, he's got a little bit too close. Some decent rockets, though, puts the totem down and actually evens it up.
Does indeed, but the positioning from CNZ was perfect. He didn't know exactly where dramiS was, so he stayed in a nice, safe position and forced dramiS through a choke point. Good defensive rocket. dramiS has to make a play. 1.5 minutes to go. There's nothing he can do except fluff forward at this point. CNZ is playing the angles.
Certainly is. 1:10 left remaining. We've definitely seen Some weird but interesting situations occur on this map, especially when it comes to keep them on spawn and try and catch up. And that was a good rail there from dramiS, but actually caught him in the end. So if he finds these 3 frags and tie this up into a tiebreaker, it's definitely possible. But it's all depending on CNZ's positioning. It depends on the routes he's going to take to try and get away. And he's contesting the items still, and already dramiS has taken a huge chunk. And the problem is dramiS can't afford to lose another frag.
No, not at all, and CNZ's just running away. dramiS just has to run it in, but look, he's got 0 stack to work with. A good rail coming out, but he needs 2 more at least to finish the job, and even then, he has to find another 2 frags in 30 seconds. So, hard for contest. We've seen Keel come out again, this time in a better situation, but I don't feel dramiS, again, I don't think he looked that comfortable on it, if I'm all honest, but at the same time, CNZ made his life hard. Since he's made life real hard.
He certainly did make it super difficult, but that's going to be pretty much said and done here. The first map will go in favour of CNZ, and he had a very explosive start, didn't he? He had great aim skill, he had great position overall, some advantageous angles, like consistently, just to really, like you said, you know, making it really difficult to get dramiS into that matchup or try and find his way back into that matchup. But you saw dramiS was kind of feeling it a little bit more in terms of the groove, in terms of his aim skill, laid it on, but yeah, it was just too little too late. If he can bring that now onto the second map, then hopefully he can take himself into a map number 3.
Definitely, and he's going to have to find something once again. Don't want to see another 2-0, mate.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit bored of this now.
Yeah, exactly. want to take it to a third map, particularly seeing that deep embrace. But since he's looking good, I felt, as you said, dramiS is probably warming up into it just a little bit, but it wasn't the best start, and there were times where he didn't know what to do with the pressure that CNZ was bringing out. It was still a good contest from dramiS, and should put him in a decent position to move into the next map.
Yeah, it's like we mentioned, we didn't really see a bit of life from dramiS until the final few minutes, and normally he's the one who sometimes not always dictate the pace, but just, you know, create the tempo which he needs, and we don't really see any of that until the last few minutes. So this is what we need to see. But it's like I said, he found his groove a little bit more during the last few minutes, but it's better than having it in the final few moments in that last map, rather than feeling a little bit, you know, frustrated and, you know, in terms of his mental fortitude, not feeling that great going into the second map.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it ended up being a pretty close map overall. So I think CNZ was in control for a large portion of it, and then at least dramiS could be somewhat happy with the fact that the scoreline didn't snowball out of control. That's not CNZ's style. He doesn't generally go out to demolish you. He goes out to control and contain you. So he did his job, and he did it well. We didn't even see the overstat come out. He was using it purely to recoup off of these hard-fought battles. I did like the aim from CNZ. I think he out-aimed dramiS slightly, particularly with the rail. That's something dramiS will have to correct. It's mainly his aim really excels when he's using the fast champions. The Slashes, the Anarchies, the Athenas, and he does have an Athena to end well no. So if we can get that far, that's where I'm favouring dramiS.
We just want a map 3. We don't ask for much here. That's exactly all we want, and I think this is one of the matches which definitely could happen. It depends on how dramiS can turn things around, isn't it? Of course, without a Slash, there's a cause a few issues, but I'd love to see the Athena on Deep Embrace. We know we've seen it a little bit more over the course of time. You know, we've seen like players like Wenger just do absolute work with the Athena and just works his magic across the board. And, you know, there's no reason why one of these players can't do that either.
For sure. And dramiS is one of them that can. People normally ban it against him. He's a scary prospect on it. Yeah, psyching himself up there. He's been a good sport as well. So obviously doesn't want to come all this way to go out in the first round. It's a big map for him, and we've already talked, it is a team kill, but they're not obviously players that would have practiced against each other an awful lot. So there's a different dynamic at play as well.
Well, this is it. It's all about the mind games, really, as well. You know, you're going to think twice about certain decisions you want to make in terms of your movement around the map and the routes you take. And even at the same time, do you want to do that? You know, this is the issue. Even though your opponent may expect it for you to do certain things, do you want to fall back on something which is maybe not as advantageous? There's a lot to take into account here. This is why, you know, with one of these team kills, it's a shame to see, but also at the same time, at least you're guaranteed one of them to go into winners round 2. But even then, we'll have to see is dramiS, you know, you're right. He's pretty damn chilled at the moment, Dan. Just probably thinking about exactly the mistakes he made in that first map and how he's going to try and go to the second map fresh and ready to try and sort CNZ out if he can, of course. Because, you know, we want another map 3. Well, I say another as though we've had them all day, Dan, but, you know, this could be the first one. And, yeah, we just want to see a bit of a thing on Deep Embrace. That's all we want.
So, yeah, we're just waiting on CNZ. You have to have a fresh reset. We maybe have to jump in just to see the picks and bans in a moment, just to refresh them where we're at, because that's going to be important. If we're looking through and we're going on to Ruins, What's your thoughts on this then?
I think with the Strog pick as well for dramiS, he's going to be in a little bit in terms of his comfort zone. We know in terms of the slide champions, that's what he prefers. Even though he doesn't get the slash, it's kind of like the next best thing really for him, isn't it? But, you know, with the Blazkowicz as well, we don't see him a huge amount on ruins. Like, of course, you know, we see some completely different picks entirely. We see, like, you know, the Visor, we see the Scale Bearer, the Galena. But, you know, the BJ does work on this map. It certainly does. It's very rare occasions we've seen it, but it depends on how CNZ is going to utilize it. He may use the duel to bait him to, like, keep away from certain parts of the map, especially for heavy. But even then, though, if you give dramiS the lead, this is where it's going to cause CNZ some issues. With the mobility and also using the Pika for information, he wants to try and keep of arm's reach. If he does have a decent lead, and it's those final dying moments when I kind of feel like he's going to be in a lot better spot with the Strog this time round.
I completely agree. The Strog is...
Cheers, mate.
No worries, man. Strog is definitely a great pick. He gives him the speed that he needs. He loves the crouch slide. You have the stack being Strog itself. All the qualities are in dramiS's corner for what he needs. I'm also a little bit at a loss about why the BJ was picked on this map. Generally, you want to pick it on something like a Veil or a Corrupted Keep where you can take those close combat engagements. There are definitely situations where it's valuable. I guess both major items, you can use that. You know, if you're contesting for the Mega and you pop the dual wield, you either take the fight or you drop off. Like, it just wins you the item, full stop. Also pretty useful in the heavy, so it definitely has good utility, but as you said, just more unorthodox. So that says to me, once again, CNZ probably has a plan. Let's see what that plan is.
Yeah, the plan of action is going to come to fruition. Just depends if it works or not. This could be map number 2, CNZ. Currently up 1-0. If you're just joining us here, it's the 5th match of the day. This is the first round of the winners bracket between these two. And now we're going to find out what dramiS can do to try and come back on this. You know, with the Strog, he definitely has a lot more of a wide variety of strategies and skill he can use to try and utilize here with the Strog. It just depends if he can at least use it or not. But, you know, we spoke about, we don't really see the BJ pick coming out here on ruins. It's not like we've never seen it, but it just depends on how CNZ will take advantage of it anyway. But the LG comes out already a clean frag, and yeah, this is not the best of starts here, of course, for dramiS.
Absolutely not. Starting from 1-0 deficit. Items are more or less on the same time. CNZ's actually making the ballsy play to split the items as well. So this is, again, this signals confidence.
It certainly does. And CNZ desperately required this lead, especially against the mobility of the Strog as well. Good Railroad hits the peak, but the problem is dramiS at disadvantage to the stack, trying to get away. Will he be able to? He's obviously cornered, and you know, we talk about it time and time again here, Danny. You know, that courtyard is literally where, you know, most of the players do go to die, considering the circumstances of their stacks, and that was just a good example of it. He tried to get away, but just kept him back with the LG, and that's exactly the play that CNZ needed to do in order to add even another frag to the board.
Yeah, not the cleanest of frags. Missed quite a few easier of the rails. He's also been caught from behind, as dramiS is not where CNZ expected him to be. Expected him to be picking up that light armor. Instead, he was actually setting him a little bit of a trap from behind. Will win himself this heavy. The Pika comes out. Does a little bit of damage. CNZ should be able to back off, get this light as well, and be on pretty much even stats.
It certainly will be. CNZ now just standing his ground, it misses out on the first rail. But look at that, dramiS comes out of it. That's exactly what he was looking for, and to try and get himself back in this matchup to contest this item. But, you know, we could see a gentleman's agreement again between the two, as dramiS could easily just fall back for the heavy if he wants to, but it looks like he's going to try and push for the Mega. But at the same time, I like this from CNZ. I assume he's going to get the light and go straight for the heavy afterwards. But now that he realizes where dramiS is, he's of course going to go straight for it here, using the dual wield, using the audio cue just to let dramiS know that, just to keep him at bay and just make sure that he won't be able to try and approach him by any means necessary. And it's done exactly that.
Yeah, by and large, it's been CNZ that's getting the picks from range at this point, so dramiS needs to start reading CNZ better. Again, trying to set up that trap in the mid-area. Not really working this time. He's out-positioned himself now, gives away the Mega. We'll be able to pick up the heaviest again. The items are more or less on the same time.
So here's, and the rockets are coming out back and forth, but it's going to be dramiS coming out on top. Especially with that heavy pick out, but dramiS can smell blood in the water. He wants to try and push on forward. The Pika adds a little bit more here. And this just could be a matter of time. This courtyard spot is one of the hardest to get out of on ruins. It's a matter of if they can. Nope, not going to happen. dramiS is not even going to give him any kind of chance. And there we have it. If he adds another one here, It's going to be all tied up here, Dan.
Yeah, and as much as we've been praising CNZ, it's actually been felt like dramiS has had a bit more control on the map, been setting the tempo a little bit better. Drops onto CNZ here, knows he hasn't got the weaponry to contest from range, trying to cut him off on the other side of the map as well. Neither worked. So he will be trying to control the weapons at this point. Realises CNZ has nothing to work with and the items aren't up for quite a while. So that's why we see him patrolling the map, trying to figure out exactly where his opponent is. He's caught him over by the rocket. Again, there's nothing for CNZ to play with at this point. He's only got a rocket, and you're never going to hit your opponent from the other side of the map.
Definitely not. And you know what? We haven't really seen much item segregation at all the last 4 minutes. And yeah, of course, dramiS is going to back well away from that. Wants to go for the light though. CNZ is going to be prepared, of course, and he's going to try and look for a second. If he gets the flank round, finds it, misses it though. Will he go for the portal? And even if he does, he won't get as much value with the stack and go forward later on. But he was literally just looking for that initial frag. Sadly, he doesn't reclaim the lead. But dramiS, luckily for him, he's going to stay alive. And it's the heavy which he's definitely looking for at the moment.
He's going to jump on in. The Jewel comes out. Big rocket to stall him though off the bat. The 100, and dramiS lives to fight another day. Nice rail from CNZ, nullifying that pickup. dramiS will work his way around. Items are not up. Both have been taken. Next rail is going to be critical. And actually meeting close combat. CNZ jumping on through, has timing a tad early, but has the stack advantage, gets better damage off of the bat as well, and finds dramiS off of the spawn. Question is, can dramiS get out of here? He's just trying to chip away with the heavy machine gun now. Managed to get across. CNZ respects that. Mega is still up. Neither player connecting. So CNZ has been missing some of the easier rails so far. Hasn't come back to haunt him just yet, but it is 3-2.
Problem was, if CNZ won that matchup a little bit more cleanly, he could have had both items. That's, you know, a huge talking point here. But because they both took so long picking up the items, they're not segregated anymore. And we're still waiting for just one player here just to take full map control, full advantage, get both items back and forth.
Yep.
And we haven't seen that yet. There was one stage where just a half a minute ago they were 8 or 9 seconds separated, but of course now they're all back to square one with CNZ with the advantage, but dramiS definitely has plenty of room in order to make something work.
Yeah, you see that CNZ using the audio cues to tie up the item timings. He knows he's on the back foot, obviously having the lead as well. He doesn't want to play this game. He doesn't want to give dramiS an in. He wants to keep the items on the same point and just play defensive.
Certainly does, using that peeker to find some more information. Does realise that he's still in that courtyard, but dramiS is going to take that. Actually just dive straight in. Good LG to rail, and he's looking just for a little bit more to try and tie this up. Doesn't find, it's on 25 HP. Will he wheel his way?
Nice.
Yes, he finds it. Great rail there from dramiS. Ties it all up again. You never know.
Jump up? No, he decides not to take the risk. Oh, I would have loved to have seen that. Maybe didn't know the exact timing, but he's still going to meet CNZ out in the courtyard. Doesn't connect with the rail, but now we're seeing the power of the speed of Strog come into the play. And dramiS is feeling more and more comfortable. CNZ with a great rail that should stall dramiS just a tad. It's going around, he meets CNZ, he's got the wrong weapon out, but somehow it does play off. They both get out.
It's been unbelievably close here so far. Just extremely difficult to separate these two apart. Trying to find anything we can in order to decide who could come out on top, but in the end, in terms of items, both of them just bullying each other out, just playing a lot of mind games just to throw each other off. We said it before, you know, these two are on the same team, so we are going to be expecting some second split decisions going into this. But look at this, and very... Oh, okay, the picker comes out, finds him, does a little bit of damage there, and realizes that he's still on that heavy jump pad, does now back away, which of course he will, and now, again, stacks almost equal.
And this is all born out of that earlier decision from CNZ to keep the items at the same time. He's the one that's put a halt to this game and said, I'm always staying in it, I'm staying alive. We're at 3-3 though, so somebody has to make a move. And it looks like it's going to be dramiS. He knows he's got CNZ on the ropes now, jumps on down, but somehow!
No! 1 HP! He couldn't make it up, Dan. As if he had to hit that rail, or that was going to be curtains here for dramiS. And again, CNZ hits the rail, 11 HP, but he picks up the mega, and hits the rocket though. Left on 43. Of course, he's going to try and charge. He's going to risk it though, because he's worried about the timer here, Dan.
He doesn't need to be. There's 2 minutes to go. There's plenty of time. If he gives up another frag, it could be curtains. However, he does not. dramiS sets up early down below. He doesn't want to have any more of the shenanigans. He wants to get his stack back. He wants to feel comfortable on this map. He also knows there's plenty of time to get around for this Mega. So CNZ, this is make or break. He's trying to track dramiS. He's trying to control the choke points. dramiS has given up just a second too long and now won't contest. So he's now decided to play safer.
If only he knew, Dan, if only he knew how weak CNZ was at the time, he would have just dived straight in for that Mega. He's dropping down. Heavy's up in the next 5 seconds. But finally, the items are segregated. So if by any means dramiS finds a way in, then great. But the problem is now, though, it's all about CNZ. He's going to have full map control. It's just a matter of being able to find his opponent.
Oh, I don't know about this. I think dramiS went a defensive maybe 30 seconds too early. I mean, he has got the speed. He is the strong, and it's just keep away now. That's going to be the differentiator. Can CNZ outbrain dramiS? He's going to go down the back. dramiS, he hears him now. He's just going to run. He's going to skirt on left, up the jump pad. The rail misses. CNZ has to follow up. One rocket. dramiS is just going to plus back. Holds the choke point once again. And here we go. Bring around a Rosie. CNZ not hitting the rails he needs to hit. Once again, the story of this map so far. Decides to double back, pick up the heavy, but he's given up the Mega in the process. That could be it for CNZ. He just can't catch dramiS.
But he does hit the rail, but the problem is dramiS has picked up that Mega. And that's going to be the answer.
He's
going to find each other here, and it's still someone who's able to stay alive. But CNZ, he has to push, and he gets it as well. 5-3 in this second map.
You smirk.
Oh.
You smirk.
He knew it, didn't he? He knew it. He was just like, okay, I've got you this time. Don't you worry about that. So, in the end, it will be dramiS comes out on top, 5-3 in that second map. It was a doozy. It was so difficult to really separate the two of them.
I'm going to say it for you. It was a slobber knocker.
It was. I thought you hated that word,
I do,
Dan.
but I'm giving it to you for
Cheers,
that one.
mate.
That game deserves it. That game deserves it. That was a cracker. And we are going to get that map 3. We are going to get Deep Embrace. And we're going to get an Athena. So we've got the holy trinity right now of our wishes. I hope it lives up to the hype. It's going to be a flat 1-0 at this rate. But I'm going to...
You're not wrong, though. Like I said, it's overdue. We've been waiting for this all day. And then finally we get it between these two incredible players across the board. It's like I said, after the first map, we know CNZ had a very strong start. We have to talk a bit of context here. CNZ looked like absolutely fantastic, didn't he? Brought a lot of life onto the server. But we saw dramiS bring a bit of flair over the last few minutes, and that's when he kind of found his groove here. And I think it's all about these timing of the items as well. The fact that CNZ, of course, forced it to be equal, when instead he could have kept it segregated to keep that full map control. Again, it gave dramiS a huge way in, a dent in the armor as well. Yep. And dramiS realized that straight away. But right at the very end, when you saw that CNZ dropped down that heavy jump pad, he had to. Let's be real. He had absolutely no choice. And you know, I was talking about as well where CNZ was trying to force out the situation at one stage when he went towards Hourglass to get his health bubbles. Yes. I know there was like 2 minutes left, but I think there was definitely a worry in his mind that, of course, dramiS is going to try and keep himself at bay, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And there was a couple of big turning points in that game where CNZ had the map on lockdown. He was trying to separate the items to get that full control, really solidify himself, and he was missing key rails. I think there was one in the opening 2 minutes where he was chasing dramiS around the map, having delayed the Mega, missed like 3 or 4 easy rails in a row. That allowed dramiS back into the map. He got himself an item. He tried it again later on, and it didn't work. Then there was one big opportunity down below where dramiS was able to double back and use the speed, get in on CNZ, and that broke the map wide open. And that got us into this situation where CNZ was chasing the game, and that's where his guard was let down. He came out of his comfort zone. Because of that, we're going into this amazing map 3, Deep Embrace, as we go and see Athena versus Doom.
2, 1.
And we have to give a lot of credit here for dramiS, but of course we can see a lot of style points from him as well with the Athena. Our first map 3 of the day here between CNZ and dramiS. And already look at this, comes to flying here as dramiS dives straight into the CNZ. He's still feeling it after last map, Dan.
What does that come from? Even eat a full rocket. He's still alive, he's on his feet. I don't even CNZ know what's coming out with him. And we know Doom is a great champion, but this is the problem. Is that he's also subject to the insanity that is Athena's movement. He will still struggle somewhat with the way in which dramiS wants to play. If you hit double rail like that, no problem. And double rocket, why not? But please, I thought he fell off the gap.
Same. I thought he got syncoed as well at that point. I just can't believe it. Literally, dramiS was just full of momentum across the board. He was like an absolute nutcase, Ben. And then CNZ just shut it down straight away. Realised that he needs to stop the aggression now or things are going to escalate super quickly. But those 2 rails from CNZ, the 2 directs as well on the rail spawn, absolutely huge. But doesn't change the fact that now it's all tied up. dramiS did get another frag. He is available. Does manage to get a health bubble in the end and give himself a little bit more time.
Does indeed. We might be stabilising now as they both have their side of the map, they both got their items, and they both got all the weapons. So a bit more standard. dramiS down below. Seems he's taking a risky move to carry on across whilst he knows where dramiS is. And coming to pay. dramiS missing the easier of the 2 rails that time. And being Athena, he can't afford to miss out on those trades because you see what happens. He's got nothing to work with, Lethal.
It just oh,
nice.
Brilliant rail there from CNZ to finally regain the lead. It's still just throwing me off. That start strategy with the LG coming straight at him, I don't think CNZ by any means expected it at all in the slightest, and there is something we see very rarely at the start of Deep Embrace, but at the moment so far, great rocket there. CNZ is obviously going to go in for the kill. Good LG from dramiS, 2 HP. He has to be very careful.
Yeah, it was actually a tasty rocket, 71. Did open the door, but going up a jump pad with the LG, always going to be in trouble. And dramiS now knows he can close the gap. Just finish him off. There's no resources on the map for CNZ at this point. Oh, and the tri-bolt from downtown.
Oh, dearie me. dramiS though, still keeping himself in it at the moment. Standing his ground, relying on those audio cues to make the next move. Here to contest the heavy, but both items aren't coming up for quite a while. Again, segregation not playing a huge part as of yet. It's dramiS now.
Around. I don't know if he's mistimed this because he's very early. Either that or he's trying to bait CNZ into a fight over here and take both items. He's going to get it now. He's just moved a little bit too early and now he's going to miss out on the Mega for sure. So the game plan didn't come off and actually CNZ sticking around to take the fight. He knows dramiS is going to try and get himself across. Wants to use as much resource as he can before skirting onto that Mega. dramiS is around to hit a rail, but no. CNZ is back on form with his rail and taking it. The punch comes out this time, and that will be good night, Athena.
And the problem with the Athena is that starting to stack, isn't it? At the moment, it's definitely going to play a huge part in this matchup at some stage, and I think now is going to be absolutely crucial. I do like how dramiS is faking some of these grapple hooks as well, just to, you know, throw CNZ off a little bit. But it doesn't seem to be phased too much. It just needs to be patient, disciplined, and just standing on guard in case he does go for it or he doesn't. Either way, he's not putting himself in a bad spot. But picks up the Mega Node. dramiS still trying to back away and just trying to find his footing so far. Good rail there from CNZ, looking for a second if he can. If he does realise he's going top mid.
And we're in a situation where, for the first time, one player has got both major items. dramiS forced off that Mega. CNZ sweeps up both, and there's a good 11 seconds now for him to get across, control the Mega area. dramiS sticking around. I don't know if he's got the timing, and this could be a big mistake. Luckily, he has hit 3 rails in a row, so he does nullify a large part of that process. However, needs to clean up the timing, needs to clean up the positioning. Can't just rely on hitting magical rails all day.
He certainly can. Is now still on the heavy here. So he's hitting all the rails, don't get me wrong, but it's like he said, he needs to try and contest his items a little bit better because he's still giving them away, just no matter how you see it, and still trying to hit another one as he goes. Don't mind, dramiS is playing incredible in terms of his movement with his speed and literally just trying to hit these rails at the same time, but the problem is it's not going to be enough. It's not, we know what Quake's like, not just all about aim skills, it's all about movement and positioning, which CNZ is clearly showing at the moment.
Absolutely, it's just better map control at this point. dramiS is hitting all the shots, he's playing nice and fly, but the simplicity of CNZ's gameplay, the cleanness of it is coming out. dramiS though with some good back-to-back rockets, does pick up that frag, and it is before the heavy as well, so perfect pick off the item. Can regroup, can get the health he needs to get back to that fighting stack. And CNZ still has nothing to work with, he's just picking up the weapons. And we know deep lethal. 3 frags is nothing.
Especially on this map, not at all. Does have the unholy trinity, so at least their way can make something work. Pushes in with the LG, is going to come back and forth, of course, with a smaller hitbox. Here's it's going to struggle, but it doesn't matter. Switches to the rail, perfect timing. Looking for the LG spawn, but as you can see already, CNZ gets away, but he was trying to go for the heavy at the same time, but CNZ knew exactly what his game plan was and stopped him in his tracks.
Did indeed. Now CNZ is very healthy. Has to be wary of the damage output coming from dramiS a few times now. CNZ's been in very good positions, but dramiS has managed to just burst him out of nowhere. But CNZ slowing it down, tracking his opponent around the map, wants to close the gap as well, but somehow dramiS gets away and hits a couple of rails. So it wasn't the clean frag by any means that CNZ would have wanted.
If dramiS had the timings of the items and was picking them up as he was doing this, would this be a completely different scoreline?
Yes.
And it would be further in the opposite. Don't get me wrong, dramiS is keeping himself in it, just keeping his stack,
Okay.
you know, not to get too out of control. As CNZ is now going to try and clean up dramiS, which he has done 10-5. We're in dangerous territory now, Dan, especially with that rail as well. You know, it could be closing time once again. Here's 6 frag deficit, but you said it before. Obviously, of course, I'm going to repeat that once again. It's the fact that sometimes it's just not enough on this map. But with the starting stack of Athena, it wouldn't surprise me. As CNZ just hitting just as good of a rail as he has done against dramiS.
Yeah, now the rail is beginning to miss. As I say, that he just does connect to one. It was looking a little bit dicey for dramiS. However, I mean, the key differentiator has just been dramiS just hasn't been living up tactfully. Mechanically, yeah, absolutely, but the positioning and the timing have just been off relative to what's needed. CNZ has played a nice, simple, but clean game.
Certainly has done to show, in fact, your experience. CNZ is dropping down for the light, and I like this from CNZ. He's really doing his best to force the tempo, just to indicate some kind of slower pace in order to try and waste time. And he's doing this correctly, just holding Tom. Doesn't need to go for the mega. If he waits 5-10 seconds, great. That's all he needs to do. Just don't peek out to it. Maybe just jiggle peek to find himself some information. Just don't give him these free rail shots, which is what he's doing at the moment. But I'm surprised with the hitbox of the Athena and the way he's hitting at the moment. He must be extremely happy with himself, considering how he's been performing with that rail equally.
Couldn't agree more. You're right, he's set the tempo, and that's something unusual for dramiS. He wants to be the one, just like we saw off the start of this map. He wants to be the one rushing in, pushing fast, opening those angles up. But as you said, look how defensive and how hard it is to break that process from CNZ. It's not like dramiS hasn't tried. He's thrown everything at it. But he just can't do enough. And now we're at the point where you think, yes, Deep Embrace, you can snowball, but can you get 6 frags back, which is more than you've got in 8 minutes?
I'm not sure at this point. He's got the mobility, yeah, sure, but he can't get a clean frag every single time. And this is where it's going to cause some major problems here for dramiS. 90 seconds left remaining nearly, and CNZ is playing the perfect game right now. This is exactly the strategy he needs to do. Just have a defensive posture, get ready, and even if he does, you know, take a death or two along the lines, keep his stack as low as possible.
Exactly. And already he's wasted another 30 seconds where they have fought. Yes, he's let dramiS get an item or two, but they haven't found each other and he hasn't taken any damage. So this is a win in CNZ's book. And now he's doing exactly what dramiS did to him last map. He's playing the map, he's playing the environment.
Certainly is. Just a sprinkle of damage here and there. dramiS will get a clean frag, but oh no, okay, never mind, changed that. It was clean until up to that very moment with those last couple of rockets. But CNZ done his job. He's not going to find 6 frags in the next 50 seconds. He's pretty much realised that. But I think dramiS also had a feeling that this was the kind of game plan he had set in mind. And there we go. It took a fair amount of time, but got it in the end. Hits the first one. You could go for the second. Decides to go for the mega. Just playing it as safe as physically possible.
Exactly, and now he has won the game. There is no way you're getting back 7 frags, obviously. So you have to say great performance from CNZ. From start to finish, definitely played well on every single map. It was a bit of magic coming out from dramiS on map 2 that eventually won him that. This one, I think dramiS will look back on it and almost rue it a little bit because he got such a good start. It was just the basics really that let him down. And again, at this level, can't be making those mistakes, and a player like CNZ will punish them.
And there we have it. CNZ will take the series 2-1, and
You win.
I must say that was an extremely explosive start. The way he just came at him with the LG for that first frag. But I think the crucial point, if you forget about everything else, not just about the defensive posture that CNZ changed in terms of his style and towards the end, but he shut the momentum down so quickly. Like he could have, dramiS could have walked away with like 20-4 or something like that kind of scoreline. If he let him get away with that many rails and he had the items, then it could have been completely different entirely. But CNZ shut down the momentum straight away, no mucking around, tied it up, and it is very, very difficult to do, especially against a player like dramiS.
Exactly, he worked out exactly what dramiS wanted to do and shut it down. And he had a plan B and dramiS didn't. That's what it came down to at the end of the day. dramiS tried to impose himself. He tried to impose that style from start to finish, and it wasn't working out. He needed to just to retreat a little bit more, play around the items more effectively, consolidate, and then go aggressive. But at the end of the day, it was a great performance from both these players. I think dramiS can go away with his head held high and look into the lower bracket and see who's my next victim.
Well, this is it, because, you know, I think the way dramiS has been playing so far, he is looking very scary. If he plays like he did in map 2 and parts of map 3, then, of course, no one is going to want to, of course, face against him. And I still think dramiS could really bring on a really strong losers bracket run.
Yeah, exactly what he did in QuakeCon, and that's exactly what CNZ's done in the past. No one wants to play against CNZ, and this is exactly why. So how about we throw it over to Ketchup, who can give us some more information on that.
It was a great series for me. You always love watching those two go head-to-head on the off chance they actually get to. And dramiS, looking sharp, but hopefully he can stay sharp going into that losers bracket action, of which Hell versus Buckster is just about to begin on the B stream. Twitch.tv/Maestro Live is your one-stop shop for that. But on the main stream right here, we have Rafa versus Effortless up next. And we're going to go for an extended break. When we come back, IronFist will continue.